I just loved the conversations that we had this morning in our Tuesday morning meetup. And we really unpacked these key themes of striving and sitting at the feet of Jesus, really listening to him to really discover that peace that the Bible tells us over and over again is found in him. And one of the things we unpacked was the verse that tells us when God says, "Be still and know that I am God." And this can be easier said than done. So we also took a look at the Mary and Martha scene in the Bible. And this came up so well because one of the moms was saying that she immediately felt like if someone said something that they did that was on her to-do list that she didn't get to, she immediately felt like a failure and had those lies playing in her head that she wasn't doing enough, she wasn't fit. And so we were able to kind of dive in the difference between the voice of the enemy, which is the accuser of the brethren, versus the voice of God, that he would never speak to us like that, that he loves us, he's okay going with us moment by moment, he's okay taking his time. And if we get caught up in that comparison trap, it can really thwart our perspective and his plans for us. So when we were talking about Mary and Martha, another person brought up how Jesus, when he fell asleep in the boat, how the disciples were freaking out and striving too, and how they were frustrated with Jesus. And we began to see this theme of how Martha was and how the disciples were with Jesus and how Martha was with Mary, where there almost was this resentment creeping in of, why aren't you doing more? What are you doing just sitting there? Are you going to help? Are you going to do something? And Brene Brown one time unpacked resentment so beautifully for me. It changed my perspective. It helped me so much with my own why when I understood that the key almost feeling and emotion behind resentment is not anger, it's actually envy. And we can look at resentment as the fact that we're envious that that person isn't doing more, that maybe that person has said no, has set boundaries. And this changed so much for me when I used to be a people pleaser. I would say yes to everything. And I remember that feeling of resentment. And it honestly did stem from envy for the people that were able to say no. And so I just love how we were able to kind of parallel that today with sometimes we feel that need to strive and we try to have others do things when it's our own inability to say no, when it's our own inability to set those boundaries. And so I just encourage you today, if you find yourself in that spiral of resentment, maybe you've been striving so hard and you feel like people need to do more, ask God to reveal to you if there's things that you have picked up that he has not even called you to pick up. Maybe you need to say no to more things and to actually ask God. It might be a good thing, but God, is this something you're wanting me to pick up? Or are you calling me to bless it and pray for it and you're calling me to say yes to something else? Because what's beautiful is when we partner with the Lord and say yes to what he's saying, then we actually have the ability to do what he's called us to do. If we're carrying all of this extra baggage of things he never intended for us, then it really bogs us down. So I just pray in that time you find clarity, you find peace, and that any resentment and bitterness and envy would just be stripped away and that you would receive God's perspective.